And that's exactly why you're sitting there, staring at a phone that hasn't lit up in 3 weeks, wondering if the best man you've ever met has simply deleted you from his memory. It's a haunting silence. You feel like you've lost the one, and the more you try to make sense of it, the more you spiral into the belief that high-value men are just puzzles designed to break your heart. But here's the truth. He hasn't forgotten you. In fact, the very reason he walked away is the exact reason he's currently fighting the urge to text you right now. You've been told it's about the chase or playing hard to get, but those are lies that keep you stuck. There is a psychological tether that pulls a high-caliber man back to a woman, and it has nothing to do with the games you're playing. You're doing that thing again, aren't you? You're scrolling back to the middle of your text thread from 2 months ago, trying to find the exact moment the vibes shifted. You remember how he used to look at you, that intense, focused gaze that made you feel like the only person in the room. And then, suddenly, the good morning texts stopped. The dates got vague. The "I'm just really busy with work" excuse started appearing more than he did. It hurts. It feels like a literal physical weight in your chest, because you know your worth, yet he seems to have discounted it. You've probably spent hours on the phone with your friends dissecting his Instagram stories, looking for a sign, any sign, that he's miserable without you. You feel like you're in a waiting room for a life that was supposed to be yours. And the worst part? You're starting to believe that if he was truly high value, he wouldn't have left in the first place. You're wrong. He left because he's high value, and he's coming back for the exact same reason. The common belief, the one every dating guru has shoved down your throat, is that men come back because they miss the sex, or because their other options didn't pan out. That's low-value logic. What nobody tells you is that a high-value man doesn't operate on scarcity. He operates on internal resonance. The real reason he comes back isn't because he's lonely. It's because high-value men are obsessed with order and impact. They are biologically and psychologically wired to return to the source of their greatest emotional stability. When a man of high status or high character exits a relationship, he doesn't go looking for better. He goes looking for self. But once he finds himself again, he realizes there is a hole in his reality that only you fit into. This isn't a rom-com trope. It's a psychological phenomenon called the rubber band effect of emotional investment. If you did it right, his departure wasn't an end. It was a countdown. First, you have to understand the vacuum of emotional competence. The bold truth is that he didn't leave you for another woman. He left to see if he could survive without your emotional infrastructure. High-value men are usually high performers. They deal with stress, competition, and noise all day. You weren't just a partner. You were the only place where his mask could come off. When he leaves, he thinks he's regaining his freedom. But within weeks, the silence of his apartment starts to feel like a vacuum. He realizes that without your specific brand of emotional intelligence, his world is just gray. Imagine a CEO who breaks up with someone because he wants to focus on the merger. 3 months later, the merger is done, he's richer than ever, and he's sitting in a 5-star restaurant alone. He realizes the win feels hollow because he has no one to translate the success with. What you should do is stay completely silent. Do not offer to be his support while he's gone. Let him feel the full, freezing weight of the vacuum you left behind. If you fill the gap with check-in texts, he never feels the loss. But wait, because if you think silence is the only thing bringing him back, you're missing the biological trigger I'm about to show you next. That trigger is the prestige recall phenomenon. High-value men are territorial over their own legacy, and they view a high-value partner as a permanent part of their peak self. A man who values himself doesn't just want a hot partner, he wants a partner who reflects his highest potential. When he's away from you, he starts to compare every new interaction to the standard you set. He'll meet someone new, and within 20 minutes, he'll realize she doesn't have your wit, your boundaries, or your specific way of challenging him. He realizes that by losing you, he actually downgraded his own life. He goes on a date with a perfect-on-paper model, but she agrees with everything he says. He suddenly misses the way you used to call him out on his nonsense. He realizes he's bored because he lost his equal. What you should do is level up publicly but silently. Don't post revenge photos. Post photos of you mastering a new skill or traveling. Show him the standard is moving higher, with or without him. Take a deep breath. Listen, I know this is hard to hear when you just want to text him, but stay with me, because this next point is the one that usually happens around the 90-day mark, and it's the most powerful. It's the cost of replacement logic. High-value men are efficient. They eventually realize that the work required to find another you is statistically impossible. High-value men hate wasting time. They are analysts. After a few months of being back on the market, they realize the dating world is a minefield of low-effort interactions and lack of depth. They do a mental ROI, return on investment, calculation. They remember the history, the inside jokes, and the way you knew exactly how he liked his coffee. He realizes that starting over from zero is a bad investment when the gold standard is already sitting in his contacts. He spends a weekend at a bachelor party or a networking event, sees the options out there, and feels an immediate sense of exhaustion. What you should do is be the one that got away, by being the one who didn't beg. When he realizes you aren't waiting by the phone, your value in his mental calculation triples instantly. Then comes the ego death and rebirth. He has to lose you completely to realize he never actually owned your attention. A lot of men, even the good ones, take a partner's presence for granted. He thinks you're a permanent fixture in his life. He comes back because the moment he realizes you've genuinely moved on, his ego suffers a death. To a high-value man, losing a high-value partner is the ultimate failure. He returns to win you back, not just for the relationship, but to prove to himself he is still the man who deserves you. He sees a photo of you at a wedding, looking radiant, or hears from a mutual friend that you're doing great. The ownership he thought he had vanishes, and a primal pursuit instinct kicks in. What you should do is stop being predictable. If you always watched his stories within 10 minutes, stop watching them entirely. Disappear from his digital radar. Force his ego to face the possibility of your permanent absence. Before I give you the final point, remember, if he hasn't come back yet, it's likely because he hasn't felt the consequence of his choice. This is due to comparative silence theory. His freedom eventually turns into isolation, and he realizes your voice was the soundtrack to his success. High-value men often have a lot of yes men in their lives. They have people who want things from them. You were likely the only person who wanted him. When the noise of his busy life dies down at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday, the silence is deafening. He comes back because he misses the truth you provided. He achieves a major career milestone, looks at his phone to tell someone, and your name is the first one that pops into his head. He realizes that sharing the news with anyone else feels like a lie. What you should do is protect your peace. Do not be the person he can vent to while he's not with you. If he wants your perspective, he has to buy back into the relationship. Now, look at me. Everything I've just told you is the how, but it's not the why. You're staying with me right now because you want to know the golden nugget, the one truth that separates a man who comes back to use you from a man who comes back to commit to you. If you miss this, you'll just end up in the same cycle 6 months from now. Stay with me, because this next revelation changes the entire power dynamic of your life. Here is the life-changing revelation. A high-value man doesn't come back because he missed you. He comes back because he finally saw who you became without him. Read that again. When he left, he had a mental image of you. Perhaps you were a bit anxious, a bit too available, or a bit too focused on him. He felt he had outgrown that version of you. But when he looks back and sees that his absence didn't break you, that you actually flourished, grew more beautiful, became more successful, and stayed grounded, he experiences a psychological re-categorization. He realizes he didn't leave a partner, he left a queen. The real reason he comes back is to see if he is still big enough to fit into the new, expanded world you've built in his absence. He isn't returning to the old relationship. He's trying to apply for a position in your new life. The power has shifted entirely. He is no longer the one granting you his presence. He is the one hoping you'll grant him yours. This is the only way a high-value man can return with genuine respect. He must find you better than he left you. A high-value man returns when he realizes that you were never a part of his world, but that he was lucky to be a part of yours. He comes back to the stability, the standard, and the strength that only a person who knows their worth can provide. But remember, just because he comes back doesn't mean you have to let him in. My question for you today is this. If he sent you a "I've been thinking about you" text right this second, would you be responding out of loneliness, or would you be responding from your new position of power? Let me know in the comments. I'm reading every single one. And if you're wondering exactly how to handle that first text when it finally drops, you need to watch this next video on the 3 text rules for re-engaging a high-value man. I'll see you over there.